Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's late night happy hour. Brian Kamenetsky and Andy Kamenetsky joined by this is going to be fun. I'm very excited about this one. He's very active on Lakers Twitter, so a lot of you guys know him. He's also happens to be ESPN, a social media specialist at ESPN, so he knows all about like memes and stuff, things the kids are doing, Andy.
And he's the perfect guest for Thursday night hoodie night. It was hoodie night, and
right.
we knew that Grant Goldberg would be perfect exactly for hoodie night. Grant
Hoodie
Goldberg
up.
joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. You know, I'm glad I got to come on following a Lakers win and not a loss, because I feel like the energy is going to be way up, and I won't be so doom and gloom.
You know, the last show we did after a Laker game was after the Warriors loss, and Brian and I were both like, I'm confused about how to talk about this, because they don't lose often, and they don't lose often to teams that you really have a hard time picturing them losing to. So it really began. It wasn't even so much a down note or down energy; it's just like confusion. It's like I don't know what to do with this.
And then Grant, you get in that space like, well, am I supposed to be angry about this? Like, am I supposed to be like worried? Like it's their fourth loss of the year? But how? But like people freak out.
Yeah, like I would say the sky starts falling, especially like when it sets in that the game is not winnable anymore, and then the takes start coming down, and people start talking amongst each other and just saying, "Oh, well, are they the same team?" Stuff like that. But I'm glad they bounced back, as they usually do following a loss.
So tonight, the marquee game in the NBA was the Lakers against the Bucks in Milwaukee. Both teams coming off pretty high profile and disappointing losses, but the Lakers win tonight 113-106. The whole time I'm watching this game, I'm like, this is the strangest game I think I've seen all season. The Lakers in the first half couldn't get into the paint. Milwaukee was just dominating them. The Lakers had no fast break points. Milwaukee up and down the floor. Meanwhile, the Lakers were sticking in it by not turning the ball over, bombing three-pointers with incredible accuracy, and being really good at the free throw line. I'm like, I don't know who this team is. I've never seen this before.
Yeah. No, that was the thing to me, is the whole theme last year was the team winning despite shooting terribly from three. And then when they start making shots, they look like the Avengers. And so we luckily, like, the team shot super well like the whole year, but we saw more of that tonight. And KCP, I think, has been just so rock solid. He made a bunch of threes tonight, I think 6 or 7. So I tweeted this today. I said, you know what, like more than like being excited, I'm happy for KCP when he makes
I actually have that tweet. Like you mentioned it, and this is so true. I think for so many people, like they get genuinely happy when KCP makes shots. Like
exactly.
This is you. That's 5:48.
Yeah, I can confirm that. That's not Photoshop. Me being so well versed in it. No, I get so excited because Lakers fans are so passionate, and they get so up and down, especially concerning certain players. Like Danny Green knows what I'm talking about, and KCP certainly too. So like I'm happy to see it go in for him, just because like when the shots start going in, it seems like with him, he gets in a rhythm. They start falling in at like a high clip. So it's just good to see. I mean, it's winning basketball, but like on a personal storyline, I'm happy for him more than anything.
Yeah, actually, Frank Vogel talked about that after the game, because a lot of people were asking either Frank or other players about KCP tonight. And he said that it's a really rewarding aspect of coaching for him, like the experience that he's had with KCP going back to last year, where, I mean, it's funny, he did get off to a bad offensive start, but it became easy to forget that it was 2 games. Like he was 0 for 9 to begin, which is a really stark beginning to the season when you literally cannot make a shot. Like it's not a cliche. Kelly
Oubre would like a word with you.
Right. I mean, but it was also 2 games. Yeah. And then he started getting back into it, and it was fine. But for those 2 games, combined with what we'd seen a lot from KCP the previous couple seasons, where he's so all over the place.
Yeah.
And like, his highs can be awesome, but the lows were like the F, man. But the guy really works hard. And last year we saw in the locker room, like Dwight Howard, a lot of his teammates going out of their way to take up for him. He's a popular guy in that locker room. And I think a lot of guys have really enjoyed seeing this experience, Grant, of KCP just finding his own role and finding a way that he fits on this team. And I think actually now exceeding the expectations anybody had for him.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like it was especially true in the playoff run last year where, you saw different guys buy in on different nights. But for the most part, he was very consistent for the Lakers. And he hit big shots. I think it was game 4 of the finals where like that was the KCP game. And he came through big. And you see the reaction. I mean, the bench, last year and this year, but they got so excited. I mean, they're so excited for every play, every dunk, every fast break opportunity. But KCP puts up a shot and you see guys start to throw up their arms and throw up threes and get so excited for him. And, it's funny that you say, he tries so hard and sometimes he's all over the place. But the thing that I always tell my friends and people I talk to about the Lakers is KCP is not going to have a bad game because of effort. He's always going to give 100%, always going to try hard on defense and run literally all over the court, making things happen. Alex Caruso too. So, these guys are just like they're stars within their roles, I think is what Frank Vogel said. And it's just so great to see them be rewarded for their effort and see these shots start to fall for them consistently.
What I think is funny about this team, and it was true last year, and I think it's still true this year, is and why it must be really irritating for non-Lakers fans around the league, because it's a hard team to dislike. There aren't a lot, like it's not filled with drama. I mean, you can, I guess, how do you even dislike LeBron at 36 doing what he's doing? Anthony Davis, the other star, basically has spent every post-game press conference he's had for the last 2 weeks going, well, guys, I fucking suck. Like I am shit. I am terrible. Like, how do you get mad at that? And meanwhile, you've got KCP and you've got Alex Caruso running around, and who doesn't like Marc Gasol? Like, there's no drama. Frank Vogel, come on. And so to have an actually likable Lakers team is probably both weird for Lakers fans, but it must be horrible for non-Lakers fans.
Definitely. And I know that I'm going to probably catch some heat on Twitter for saying this, but sometimes I think about the same thing for the Boston Celtics. Like Jaylen Brown is a guy that I really rally around.
Jaylen Brown's great.
He's on and off the court, just like so awesome. And Jason Tatum's so fun to watch, like how he's expanding his game.
St. Louis,
19 years old. So
he's from St. Louis.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and like Kemba Walker's always smiling. Like you love Kemba Walker. Right. So it's
Marcus
like
Smart is like one of the best role players in the league.
Exactly.
I mean, like anybody who says they wouldn't want Marcus Smart on their team either doesn't watch or is lying their ass off, or just hates the Celtics that much that they won't admit it. You want that guy.
Yeah, like a basketball fan, like you love to see the plays Marcus Smart makes. Like it's like honestly, it's sort of an embodiment of like what KCP and Alex Caruso does, and the fact that he just does everything the team asks for. And so, but yeah, I love Marc Gasol just because of like, he's bought in totally. And like the Lakers did what they could to like accommodate him with an extra year on the contract, more money. And I think his impact on the team is really good because he obviously knows what it takes to win. And he does all the little things, the tip outs, showing AD a little bit more with the playmaking. And I think that is a little bit more why I'm forgiving with like the bad shooting streak, is just because he's doing so many other things to affect the game. Like he had that one pass out of the post tonight to LeBron when he was cutting for that dunk. And I was like, you know what? He might not make that play last year, and he might turn around and shoot a jumper. But I'm really excited to see where this team goes, like even a month from now, 2 months from now, just because this team like doesn't seem to have 2 bad games in a row, and more often than not, they're able to string together these like 6-7 little mini win streaks. Not mini win streaks, so they're 7 games, but I think a big factor is like the locker room, and I think Marc Gasol has done a good job to fit in pretty well. Montrezl Harrell even more, Dennis Schroeder, commenting "that's tough" on literally every Lakers Instagram post. So now I'm glad that
funny is like you can. It feels right now like there's this unstated but clear thing right now with Harrell and the rest of the guys who are still with the Clippers, basically trying to make it seem like, well, it wasn't me. Like Montrezl Harrell is, to his credit, because he's playing really well, but you can see he is working really hard to fit in with this team, and all the Clippers that are there now can't stop talking. And maybe it's sincere. It may be completely sincere about how everything's great in this locker room now. Like we're all playing for each other. Marcus Morris said like everybody talked about it and they squashed everything.
Right, that BS is gone, Andy. It's gone.
Right. Yeah. It's gone. And both these things may be totally true, but it feels like every time one side talks, the other one has to make it more clear. No, it wasn't me. It was them. It was absolutely them.
Yeah. You know,
go ahead.
Or him, depending on which side.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those like mutual breakup things. Like it was just the best thing for both sides. And, you know, I mean, maybe for the Clippers and, you know, I don't know what's going on in the locker room. Like only a handful of people know, but like they know what not to do now. They know what not to do. And like the guidelines of, okay, well, we did this last year. This is not working out. What can we do to shake things up? And like, I'm glad that Montrez is like in this locker room now, and that he seems like such a fun guy and he's fitting well. Him and AD like go back and forth, and like that one mic'd up on Christmas with the shoes Trez was wearing was hilarious. It's just another thing. It's just another thing to like point to and be like, you know what? That really speaks to the Lakers chemistry within the locker room to like lose some key guys in Danny Green and Dwight Howard and plug in these other guys, and it's seemingly like a seamless fit.
I'm just excited because, you know, we still have not gotten that hallway series that has been promised in one form or another for like a decade. And last year, even if it wouldn't have been in the hallway. This year, and when they get there, they're all going to say, you know, it's not a big deal. You know, it's about getting to the finals. It's about this, that, whatever, except for Trez. Trez is like, no, I fuck that. I don't like these people. Like, I don't like them, and I want to beat them badly. Like, I am here for that. And I'm here for all of those guys throwing shade at him too.
It's sort of like when AD like had first game against the Pelicans, and you know, we saw a bunch of early attempts from AD, like they were force feeding him the ball and they were letting him get out that like frustration on the court and like letting him play out that whole situation as a Laker against the Pelicans. I think we'll see, you know, knock on wood, if we get a series, sort of the same thing. And those guys rally around Trez and try to, you know, put him in the best positions to succeed.
It's Bynum in 2010 heading into that finals. That year, the Lakers took out Denver before Boston had eventually taken out Orlando. So the Lakers are doing these practices and they're getting asked this same cliched boilerplate question. You know, do you have a preference? Who would you rather play? Everybody like Kobe, Powell, Fish, you know, everybody's saying the company line, you know, we don't care. You know, they're both really good teams. We're just focusing on ourselves. And then you get to Bynum, who, God bless him, had no filter whatsoever. And he's like, oh, we want to play Boston. We totally want to play those guys. Like, absolutely. And everybody knew. Like, everybody knew that's who they wanted to play. Like, I remember after they won that series, Kobe doing his press conference is talking with all of us. He's like, yeah, you know, guys, honestly, like, of course we wanted to play Boston. I mean, like, we're like, really, Kobe? Wow. You had us going this whole time that you were totally indifferent as to whether or not you would play Orlando or the Celtics, the team that just embarrassed you like a year ago, like 2 years ago. Like, wow, you guys were really convincing. We had no idea.
Who would you rather play? The guys that you just like took care of in a light 6 games, or the guys that, you know, made a mockery? So exactly. It's a little bit of a non-question there.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a dumb question that I almost felt embarrassed for the people asking it.
Yeah, and then at the end, Kobe's like, guys, I'm going to level with you.
Yeah.
We really wanted the Celtics.
You might not see this coming.
What? Get the fuck out. No, really?
Such incredible acting. Caruso tonight, I asked him about, they did a really good job tonight with Giannis. I thought, in particular, keeping him off the line. Like, they contained him reasonably well, I think, in general, for what you can do for a guy like Giannis. But keeping him off the line is huge. And when I asked him about how you go about doing that, his response, I thought, was an interesting combination of like basketball wonkery, but also like a good look, like 5,000 foot view of this team. And he just said, it's just trying to be really disciplined. You know, a lot of times in the league, guys can create contact, and the response of the defense is to be physical back, and that can create fouls. And Giannis plays such a physical game when he's driving that a lot of times you've just got to stand your ground, not use your arms. A lot of it comes from help side guys. I know a lot of times in the first half, we forced them in turnovers by having the nearest guy loaded to the ball and showing a presence and not letting him go one-on-one, because he's a handful if you let him go one-on-one. But yeah, I think it's just the discipline. And it really speaks to these guys in terms of their overall potential. When they play disciplined, they don't even have to play at their best. When they're just focused enough and just not doing things that get in the way of themselves, they are really hard to beat. They're not going to lose often.
No, I 100% agree. And you said it after you said the point about discipline, but it's that focus and like that effort and making sure that the effort that you do put in is like focused into like one singular thing, and that focus defensively, you lock in. Like I've seen like multiple things, you know, on Twitter, you know, basketball conversations of like when the Lakers lock in defensively, like that's among the scariest sights in basketball for opponent. Because they have so much length, they're so disciplined, they switch everything, and they have 5 guys on the floor that are just going to compete. And so the biggest thing too is I feel like Caruso is a big example of that discipline and like making the right plays, focus on what's in front of you. And especially with Giannis, you know, we even see when they are focused and they're making the right plays. Like Schroeder, I think it was in the third or fourth quarter, stepped up above the restricted area and tried to take a charge on Giannis, but got called for a blocking foul. And that was the second blocking foul within like a few plays with Giannis. And so, you know, he's going to get his regardless, but I think the whole thing that you're alluding to is like not making it any easier for him and like taking away these free opportunities for points, because you know, that's how he's going to get a lot of his points and make an impact on the game is these drives and making contact, finishing through contact, and ultimately finishing it through the free throw line. So I just love when these guys are so focused and aggressive defensively, because it makes for these highlight showtime plays where they can get out on the break. They can, you know, throw their lobs. They can throw their, well, I mean, LeBron can throw his full court outlet passes.
That pass to Kuzma tonight was so stupid. Like, I just like, come on. It was all, and it wasn't even like, I don't even think it was like in the top 5 of his outlet passes this year. You know, the left-handed one that he like barely, that was in his hand for like 3 seconds, or the 0.3 of a second, that he threw left-handed full. That I think was the best one. But like he does this routinely. It's amazing. Yeah,
no, and Kyle Kuzma, you know, not for nothing, I feel like I'm at a high point this year with him. You know, he didn't have his best shooting night this game, but
2 for 6,
I think over the last 5 or 6 games, he's shown a really good sample size of his shooting. And, you know, his form looks so clean to the point where I'm watching him shoot the ball and I'm like, that looks like cash. That looks like it's going to go in. And, you know, he's trying, like we said, like they're buying in, they have effort defensively, you know, without that, not talking about that Golden State game, especially in the second half, but Kyle Kuzma is like really trying. He's got a great effort and he's, you know, working his ass off on
that contract makes a big deal. Like, you know, he can go and have nights where he blocks a couple shots and, you know, it was 2 of 6 from the floor, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 5 points, very little sort of statistical production, but like played some good minutes. And if he doesn't have this contract, I don't know if he's comfortable having a night like this. Like he's feeling like I need to get 8, 10, 12 shots up because that's how I'm going to get paid. Well, he already got paid, so it's all good.
it's sort of that opposite. It's like the opposite of like the marquee. Like the guy's in a contract year, of course he's gonna play as well as he can to get that next contract. But with Kuz, I would say like among anybody else in the NBA, he's the guy that's like his status with the team is up in the air. He doesn't know what's gonna go on. His name is floated in literally every trade rumor, legitimate or not, on Twitter or not. And I think that security brings a lot of like certainty to his role. And so that causes him to buy in and put in an effort every game and really feel like an established member of the team, even though he's one of the longest tenured Lakers, if not the
Tim and
longest.
KCP. They're the two longest. Technically, I think it may be Kuzma.
Because he was drafted. Yeah.
But like Kuzma last year, I think really was working hard to buy in. I think he was working to do everything that was asked of him. It was obvious that he wasn't totally satisfied with his role, but I think he also was in ways that I think all of us, if we're being honest, would agree would be the same with them. I think he was worried about what does this role mean for my future in the league, for, the first big deal that I'm in place to get, the type of foundation I'm setting up for myself. He's 25, 26. I mean, he's still young, but he's not young.
He's not NBA young.
Members of his draft class. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's not him being selfish or immature or anything like that. If he's concerned about the fallout with this, like you could tell when he would talk about his role, there would be a lot of, it is what it is, but he wasn't saying it with bitterness. It was just like, look, this is the situation. I'm being asked to do this. I'm really trying to do this.
Yeah.
But, it would be unfair to ask him not to be concerned about how any of this would affect him long term. Like that's just not fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it was especially true last year where like he'd have a good game, but it's followed by, 2 or 3, stinkers or like bad games. And, it's harder not to live and die with every performance when your status with the team is up in the air like it was. And so this contract, it grounds him and it provides that stability. And it's okay to have a poor shooting night like tonight, but you see he impacts the game in other areas and he's shooting the ball well like through these last few games. So it's really nice to see like him get rewarded and him like that contract already starting to pay off.
It's another happy story. Like this whole team is just filled with like happy stories. And I personally am in a place where I am no longer interested. Not that I ever really was. It was never this guy. Much more interested in rooting for people's success than I am for failure, even though failure is a great driver of conversation. There's got to be a better way to do it. So the Lakers 12-4 now, 8-0 away from home, started the road trip. Great kickoff to that. Maybe circle back to this game in a little bit. You, Grant, though, are famous, I say, for your jersey redesigns. And so we want to sprinkle some of these in throughout. We'll talk some memes, talk NBA social media and all that. But I want to start with these because obviously, like when you redesign a Lakers jersey, there's some pressure there. So this one, like, can you like what goes into make like kind of redoing this? Like, what did you do with this is the classic home gold jersey?
Explain, by the way, too, like with redesigning it, what that means in terms of, is this your own reimagining of it? Is this something that you're actually doing with the teams? Like, just so people understand what it is.
Yeah. I think the main thing that I have in mind when I go into like a jersey redesign or even like a refresh, which I'd more describe that Lakers jersey, just that example, as a refresh, because all I did was change the shade of gold or yellow in their case with the current uniforms. And like, I know that's like a particular gripe that the fan base has. And so, I mean, basically I'm catering to what the fan wants, but I'm also like staying true to myself and, in putting out something that I think looks good and I'm satisfied with, because like at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna put it out there for everybody to see. So I keep the team in mind. I keep what they've done currently and in the past in mind, and I try to work off of that and give something that's like more realistic, but also like something new but also stays true to like what the team is. So with the
Okay.
Lakers, I did them last. Out of every team, I did them last because they've always had, biased, but I think it's true, like the best look in the NBA. And I think just such a classic look. So you don't want to do a bunch to like tweak and alter that. So I really just wanted to like correct something that that the fans would always talk about. And that was probably the biggest piece of feedback was like, thank you for changing the shade, just because.
Right. Because as Nathan Mark pointed out in the chat, like the ones right now are like, they look like highlighters.
Yeah.
It's not right. All right. This one, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, that with what kind of classification, like what category does that fit in?
Throwback.
This is a throwback. Okay.
I always try to work in a throwback or two, if I don't work off of like a certain throwback for inspiration, because like that's what teams like to see. Like I love to see the throwbacks on the court. Like I think it's a good like representation of the team's history, and like it's something different to see. But also it's like I said, it's true to the team, and it looks good. Like I think the Lakers have had a lot of good looks, so why not?
What did you do with that one? What were the adjustments, tweaks, things like that?
No, I literally just tried to bring it to life in like the new NBA like Nike jersey, Nike look. That's why it has like the wish shopping on it. And but yeah, like every like detail, whether it's like the side stripes or the collar, if it's a certain way before, for the throwbacks, I try to stay true to them. So I try to apply that to like the new modern NBA jersey.
All right. So you've done something with this one that I have to say. I am not a big fan of the movement towards including black in everything. I don't believe in it. And I get the tie-in when it comes to like the Kobe stuff and whatever, but you've done something here. You've managed to put black into a jersey in a way that is awesome. That is a great jersey. I would wear the hell out of that if I were the kind of person who was comfortable wearing a tank top, which I'm not. This, you seem to have incorporated like the Kobe look with the Sunday whites.
Yeah.
Can you make this a thing? Like, do you have that kind of authority?
See, that's actually the whole reason why I agreed to come on the show tonight, was to whoever's listening to make that pitch to elevate my work. No, I tried to combine a few different things with that one, and more than anything, flip the Black Mamba look to a white Mamba. Like I've seen like different jerseys that try to pay tribute to Kobe, so I didn't want to do anything that's too out of like left field. So and I also wanted to pay tribute to Kobe and Gigi, because I think what was most famous when she was on the court was that white number 2 jersey. And so that was the main focus there, and incorporating like a gold look instead of more of a yellow shade, and that Los Angeles to represent the city more than the team, just because of how much Kobe meant to LA.
And some of that throwback element too, with the
Exactly.
old, kind of the old script. Like
Right,
that
so
is, make that into a t-shirt, man. I'd buy the hell out of that.
I would love to see it. And on the collar too, I think is one of my favorite touches is the 2/8/24 on it. Just another little tribute. That's not, it's more subtle than
it's
obvious.
in the back for people who couldn't see it. It's at the back side of the jersey.
Me scrolling my mouse over it doesn't help. But all right, so now on to the last one before we move on here. Every year, people who follow us on Twitter know that the first time the Lakers wear the purple uniforms, I tweet out the following: the black side panels are an abomination. Every year. And every year, Dave McMenamin, your colleague at ESPN, like tweets back to me that I'm wrong and I have no taste in anything, and I'm just a stupid person. Grant Goldberg.
There is some correct information in that, just so it's clear. Like
the stupid person part for sure.
Dave's assessment isn't 100% off,
but he's dead wrong. He is dead wrong about the
free,
black
if nothing
side
else.
panels. He is dead wrong about the side panels. And how do I know? Because Grant Goldberg, who has impeccable taste in jerseys, Grant Goldberg, the guy who created this.
That is a good look.
No black side panels. Specifically gets rid of the black side panels Grant Goldberg is on Team Brian, and therefore Dave McMenamin is wrong. And I appreciate you, sir, for pointing this out.
I tried to right a wrong when I did that jersey. No, not to upset anybody that worked on the jersey, because like I'll say before anything else when it comes to like design.
Dave McMenamin's about to at you, Grant. I'm just telling you that right now.
And I'll say this: I think Dave is a little less aware of us being colleagues than I'd be aware of us being colleagues. But I would say the hardest thing when it comes to designing jerseys is going out on a limb and doing something new and something different. And so if anything, I can respect it, even if it doesn't turn out to be the best thing in the world and people aren't fans of the black side panels. And me, I cater to people, and that's how I get the interactions I want. No, I really just do like the style of the current Lakers jerseys. I think I love the U-shaped collar. I love the Showtime elements, and so I was disappointed when they first debuted and I saw the black side panels, because I would have liked to see the jersey in this iteration. So
yes, hey, Sabrina Merchant, who we love, a frequent guest on this show, who has also been on Jeopardy and is therefore very smart, also agrees with me. It's now 3-1.
The evidence is overwhelming.
The evidence is overwhelming. Yes.
Oh, look, I actually agree with you. I just don't care. I'm not a big uniform guy, but they're unnecessary. Like because I'm not a big uniform guy. Like by and large, a uniform has to be either incredible or just really, really hideous for me to care one way or the other. Like that could make me care. Like by and large, I think a uniforms is just like, it's like a work outfit. It's like something that you like, if you work somewhere that had a requirement, I used to wait tables at Chin Chin. I had to wear the all whites. Kind of sucked, but it was my work uniform. But like the black side panels, I look at them and I just say, I don't see what the purpose of that is.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's being added here.
No, the purpose was we have to put black in every uniform now.
Yeah, but like you could do that without side.
Yeah.
I love black in uniforms. I actually think if you're looking to just cover your ass trying to come up with a good new look and just want to play the odds, make it black.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard to screw up a black uniform. It's hard to actually screw up adding black into a uniform. Those side panels are just too much.
You could even make them purple. And like I've done that and it looks good.
Like
and
purple with a yellow band and purple on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. And like when the uniforms first came out, and sorry for not sending it, was years ago, but not years ago, it's 2-3 years ago. But
you're young, Grant. That's a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just in elementary school not too long ago. I redid the purple uniforms into a Hollywood Nights look, using the black and trying to make it look good and keeping the black side panels. And so I think it's just like the purple and then it's abruptly black and then it's just purple again. So they're
awful.
To me, it's like, well, how do we work black into it and not be like invasive, but still be
that's a great way of putting it. It's invasive. The side panels look haphazard. Like they look like the order was going out in like 30 minutes and they got a directive to add black somewhere and they have like a bunch of black fabric. They're like, we don't know what to do with this. All right, let's just make a bunch of side panels. We got half an hour before we have to ship this thing out. Like it just doesn't feel like they actually really.
It actually feels exactly how the Clippers came up with their last set of jerseys. We've got a half hour to do this. Let's ship them out. I just want to say this before we change topics. How do I know I'm right? You're right. Sabrina is right. I think the Lakers know because they wear those things now like once every 4 months. Those purple jerseys now are the things that you put on when you run out of laundry. Like I feel like that's how they treat those. So that's it.
Okay,
Dave's
I got one question. I got one question for Grant before we get into NBA, Twitter, and social media culture. Save the Lakers. Like take the Lakers out of this equation because we already know what your answer would be. Who has the best uniforms in the NBA, and who has the worst? That isn't just a team that you hate.
Oh man.
Like trying to keep it objective as opposed to
He actually sent me these. I asked him this question. He sent me these. Are those the city jerseys for the Pelicans?
Those are the city jerseys.
God.
I'll refrain.
New Orleans been through
No
enough.
comment. I don't want to say anything regret. No. I think those are my least favorite out of every look in the NBA. I think as a whole, NBA Twitter wasn't too big on every city look throughout the NBA, but those I think were the clubhouse, like whatever, in last place. It wasn't the clubhouse leader. So I would say the worst. That's tough. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the Thunder, and that's why I tried to like flip that and do something completely different. Let's see. I do like the Blazers. I think they have like a very classic look.
Yeah, great.
Blazers
they don't
have
do too
great
much
uniforms.
to change it up, and so I like that a lot. That's a good question because like I don't try to like think too negatively. Like you said about like the Lakers, you don't like to think negatively. You like to like have the positive stories. So I think the Spurs could do a lot more than like the monotone black, silver, and white.
That feels like one of those instances where you really take on the culture of your coach. Because I can promise you, Popovich does not give a shit what the uniforms look like.
Yeah. If anything, they're like, hey, what do you think? And it's like
I don't care.
When do you think the last time they ran this by Pop was? Like 2000? like seriously. Like Pop must be so indifferent to all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think we're on, like, me and Pop are on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to uniform stuff.
So we wanted to talk with you also too, because as you said, you're a big, active, known member of. Oh wait, I forgot. We have a question from a follower on Twitter at HFFagan. Not sure who that is. Said to ask Grant about whether his crippling addiction to jersey swaps is ruining the NBA and the main reason ratings are down.
100%, I take that responsibility and blame.
I don't know who that joker is who sent that, but
yeah, when you wield the power that I do on a daily basis, I think what is front of mind is just how can I make the basic NBA fans' day worse and make the coverage about basketball just the absolute poorest quality. No, Harrison is the funniest guy, but I think there's a lot of NBA Twitter where it's like, oh, talk about this guy, talk about my guy, and like some people might not like your guy, so why talk about them? But I think it's so funny how like that's such a big part of like the NBA ratings discussion when there's just like so many other factors in like that whole situation where like when it comes down to the grand scheme of things, not that many people in the world are on Twitter and not that many people in the world are on Instagram compared to the people that are watching the games too. So I love Harrison, but I'm not paying attention to anything he says for like the near future.
All right, well, as you said, though, you are an active member of Lakers Twitter. You are a very known commodity on NBA Twitter in general. Like, how did you first enter this world, and when did it become apparent to you, like, this could actually be a career path for me?
Yeah. So I started with a site, and I think they still, to this day, produce like really great NBA content, Lakers content, and don't necessarily have the following that like other sites do, but Lakers Outsiders is where I got my start, and like there's some great friends that still work at the site, and so I started writing like stuff, and like whether it was reports, editorials, editing other people's stuff, like that's what I got my start doing. I was in journalism class in high school. And so from there, it went to live tweeting games and controlling the Twitter handle and like sort of learning the ropes on Twitter, what works, what doesn't, and thinking, wow, like, I may have a knack at this and like, this is fun. I like this. And so from there, it went to Silver Screen and Roll. From there, it went to Foreign Blown Gold and back to Silver Screen and Roll. So through that little trip through Lakers Twitter, Like some people started following me, but like more than anything, I met some really great people, really smart people when it comes to the game of basketball. Like Pete Zayas, Darius Soriano, not Harrison
Smart's a little
Finnegan.
much for me.
Yeah,
Let's not overdo
I'm
this.
not sure how smart
Right.
he
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Everybody calm down.
You know what? I was trying to uplift people, like we were saying before, but if I'm going to be
You
honest,
can cut him
those
down.
guys
It's fine.
can kick it. No,
It's still 2021. I mean, a little cynicism's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy, but let's not go overboard.
But, like it's interesting you talk about this stuff, like because Andy and I, we sort of have done stuff kind of throughout. Like we've done video, and video is like a thing. Like we've kind of tried these things as they come out. People who are younger than us, people like you, have kind of grown up in this world of NBA Twitter and NBA social media, regardless of the platform, at least from what I can tell, is very different. It's like it's a unique thing in sports. Mm-hmm. Like it drives stuff in basketball differently than the NFL doesn't have that in the same way, and Major League Baseball doesn't have Twitter like that. Why do you think basketball has been so central, particularly for people who've grown up in like the social media age, in the way that it has?
I think because, I mean, more than anything, the game is accessible on social media. I mean, when it comes to highlights, like they're everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look, whether it's ESPN or any other company, highlights are on the feed, and people are able to grab a play, quote tweet it, talk about it, and then that conversation continues below it, and like narratives begin to shape on Twitter, and people talk about that, and sometimes players include themselves in the conversation. And I think I think the same is true for a lot of leagues, but the NBA in particular, NFL too, is that players like acknowledge what's happening on Twitter. They're a part of the conversation. They drive conversations. And so like I would say like the visibility of athletes has like gone up, 100-200% from like when there wasn't as big of a social media presence, because like they know what people are talking about, like the narratives, like whether they admit it or not, sometimes it's on their mind, and like it influences like questions in press conferences. It influences answers. And so the accessibility of the game, I think, is like a huge thing of why basketball Twitter like helps to like move that conversation and like continue conversations and create narratives. But more than anything, it's like a big community, for better or worse, in some cases.
Yeah, it can be both. I mean, there are times when I feel like NBA Twitter is the most awesome, fun. Even if you don't follow basketball, you should be in this thing because it's entertaining. And then there are other times where like, my God, why have I wasted so many years in this fucking cesspool? Like, I mean, like you can feel that way, both spectrums. You can feel that way in the same day, or sometimes like the same 20 minutes.
That's true of social media generally, but I mean, and I think some of this comes from Andy and I, when we've done this show, we did however many episodes when we were still with the station, and now we're actually, and thank you everybody for the support in this. We are nearing 100 shows as an independent entity, which is both crazy and I don't know. I'm not sure what other adjectives
are frankly.
But the point is we've done, and so like, part of what we've tried to do is extend beyond the typical people that you see on, a radio station, or that might pop up for a TV appearance, and find social media figures and people who are just really smart, interesting people. And the NBA is filled with these. Like you can't go 2 inches on the internet without finding a bunch of people who could come on and just be great guests around the NBA or culture and all that. I don't know NFL Twitter, like and baseball Twitter, like, and we've asked people and they don't really know, like it's not the same. And it really is amazing to me.
Yeah, and I think it's because the NBA is so player centric, and like the NFL, for how much it may have changed in the last few years, but it's viewed as the no fun league, or like it's like it works against players sometimes, and like the MLB, I can go on about how like the game is like behind other leagues in terms of like putting players forward and like promoting bat flips and like players talking back and forth, because like that's passion and that's like love of the game. And I feel like that's defined so differently in like in baseball's like unwritten rules, like passion and love for the game, like that's changed. And so I think what the NBA does really well is like they like are like player first in some scenarios. Like I won't say every scenario, but and these players, like I said, are on Twitter and they're in these conversations, and they see what people are talking about. And so like not to say that there aren't NFL players on Twitter and MLB and whatnot, but I think the NBA is a little bit more forward in these players and promoting them and having them have fun, and more than anything, yeah, just like not inhibiting that.
Here's throw up some of the work that you've done. First, a couple that you made in tribute to Kobe. It's very cool. Really, it's nice work.
Let me get this out of the way.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually caught a little bit. I did two versions of that. I did an 8 and I did a 24, and so in some areas I included some players, and others I did others, but in the 24 version, Iverson wasn't in that, and I think that's what caught the most heat. I mean, obviously there's a tremendous positive response, and it really touched me to see something that I did represent Kobe and Gigi in some capacities. Obviously, a little less than Kobe in that picture, but just like symbolize like the competitor Kobe was and the competition that he had to go through. Whether it was with Shaq, without Shaq, with Powell, without Powell. I think, when you stack it up against any other player, it's just as fierce a competition. And it shows how fierce of a competitor Kobe was. I think it encapsulates that a little better in the 8 version, just because you see like the ferocity and the tenacity in his play style, and how he really wasn't afraid of any of these guys. And that's what I really wanted to showcase in these two pieces.
And then I like this one of LeBron after. I mean, it's striking, even though it's actually fairly simple in terms of what you're putting across.
Yeah, that I think. I mean, I think it's not much of a competition when I stack it up to anything else I've done for work and personally. Just because, like I said, like you said, it's so simple, but the message gets across fairly easily, and it's visually striking. I think I did like 4 different versions of that depending on his uniform, but I think just the emotion in that photo, holding the title, and I tried to pay tribute where I could with like Kobe sneakers, with the Lakers greats, the jerseys in the back.
I didn't notice that. I don't know sneaker culture well enough to know that. That's a great detail though. And I guarantee the people who know that stuff would pick up on that. That's really cool.
Yeah, but more than anything, it's so surreal being able to see something I did garner that sort of response and like positive feedback. Obviously, like I love basketball, I love the Lakers, and so for me to be even able to do that in this situation, the Lakers winning the title and having that come into existence, it's just the coolest thing.
And if people can't say, I believe that's like the screen grab there. It's like by like over 1.1 million people. It's pretty cool.
It's I think, and don't quote me, but I think it's probably the second most liked photo in ESPN's Instagram. So that's a badge of honor for me, for sure.
Between that and getting the black side panels thing right, you are really on a roll.
Real quick with this, the looks like mist or clouds kind of surrounding LeBron. What's the thought process behind that, or what are you looking specifically to communicate with that?
I'm just a dramatic person, so if I can add a dramatic effect, you best believe I'm going to do it.
And he's looking for some sort of deep symbolism there. Like, that's just a cool effect.
Make it dramatic. You know, add something to where it's like it adds to the photo and doesn't like make it over the top.
So you described it as we were talking about. You mentioned like you almost put it on like a business card. Like I Photoshop a lot of stuff. When you see all the Bernie memes this week of like Bernie sitting, like, is this just like a big week for Photoshop? Do you,
It's so funny because one of my friends, Jacob Brood, he like has done work with Lakers Outsiders. He's at Lonzo Wire, Lakers SBN on Twitter, Silverman Roll. He said like it was reminiscent of like throwback Twitter where like they would get a picture and then they would just Photoshop it into everything, and it reminded me of like Reddit, like how they have Photoshop battles. And so I didn't actually get to like take part in that, but like the thing I wanted to put Bernie in was like, you know, the gif of the wrestler Sting from WCW where it like pans out and he's sitting in the rafters alone. That's the one that I wanted to put Bernie in.
I saw the one from I think, is it Eastbound and Down, where he takes the folding chair and like throws it out and puts it down with hilarious. Bernie in it. Like he undoes the folding chair and Bernie's sitting in it and puts it down. Like that one was brilliant. Like I don't know how I mean, it's one thing to do a still Photoshop, do a moving Photoshop. That's very impressive.
Yeah, that takes talent for sure.
This might be a super esoteric question, but I want to ask anyway, just because you're in this world. Something like this that becomes like this explosion over 48 hours. Like, where do you think it starts? And like, in particular, like, how do you think it snowballs? Like, and why does it work? I've got some thoughts on it, but I'm curious what you think first.
Yeah, like, why does Bernie sitting in a folding chair with his mittens and his jacket blow up like that?
I think because a lot of people like try to like relate to that moment and be like, oh, like this is when like I'm at a party, but I didn't drive and I want to go home. And people like think about that, and they think about just like memes in general. And I think like talking about meme culture, it's like, oh, well, how can I put this into something popular and like put my own twist on it? At least that's how I think. How can I put my own twist on it and do something different? I think it just snowballs from there. Somebody can just see one person do it and they're like, oh, like it sparks an idea in their head and it turns into their own thing, which turns into another person's thing and snowballs from there. But like that's some of my favorite internet moments is like when people rally around like one moment and it becomes like the talk of Twitter and like everybody's talking about it. Everybody's interacting and retweeting, liking, whatever they're doing. It's like the funniest thing. And like you laugh every time because like it's still funny.
Well, I think it works.
Although my wife said she's over it. I keep showing her pictures and she's like, please stop. I'm like, no, they're still funny. They are funny to me every time.
I'm still in it. It's really, I mean, I think part of the reason it works is it's so random and innocuous. I mean, it's an old man sitting in cold with big ass mittens.
Yeah.
But like, and it's Bernie Sanders is obviously a polarizing politician, and it's in his own right. I mean, he's very far left. But without commenting on his politics, I'm just saying he's somebody that elicits a reaction. But he is doing something so non-reactive. It's hilarious. I mean, in a lot of ways, it actually reminded me of the meme of Trump with the kid in the lawnmower, which, like, Trump obviously is as reactive a politician in, like, I don't know, maybe American political history or modern American political history. But that moment is
global history. Right.
But that moment is so, like, kind of just benign. Like, he's not really yelling at this kid. Like, it's really funny. Like, it's been repurposed in ways that are political. But I think a lot of times when these things take off, it's from things that actually are just so random and ridiculous that they can just become random and ridiculous in any setting.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's funny that you mentioned that one Trump lawnmower picture and the Bernie one, because I feel like those are two things, like those two still moments, like feel so true and authentic to the person that's in the photo.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that aligns so closely to like Bernie Sanders' personality and Trump's personality. And so like I feel like that in itself like elicits a response. And so
yeah, it's perfect. I mean, Trump is not literally yelling at that kid, because then it wouldn't be funny, but you know that he yells a lot. Like it has been well documented. He's a yeller. So it fits his personality, even if he's doing something that isn't objectionable in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why people put their attention towards it and like feel like they have to include themselves in the moment just because like it's what's going on. And like I said, like it feels like it lines up so perfectly with the photo. And more than anything, like it's an easy photo to plug into like different spots. So, I'm all for people going for it and putting their own work in and posting it on Twitter, because not everything goes off and goes viral. So, I always love when people have those moments.
Yeah, you know what though? The ease in which it can be dropped in many different ways. Mm-hmm. You chop him in half and he can be lying on the floor. You put him like I like the one in the roller coaster. I think that one's really good. The one with him sitting with Woody Allen on the bench is really funny. I mean, they're just, but it's a very manipulatable photo.
It was really funny. I saw. I don't remember which political writer, one of the many follow on Twitter, but said like, all right, the next person that posts the Bernie meme after like midnight tonight Eastern is going to prison. And Josh Barrow, a different political writer that I follow and like, tweeted the Bernie meme, but he's in Oz, the HBO prison show. It was awesome. And it works. He's just sitting there with those guys.
Relaxing, his mittens, his mask.
Totally works.
My favorite one, I think, and it's because I've done like Photoshops with Larry David sitting on the bench. Like when there was that awkward moment of LeBron sitting away from the team in Indiana when they were getting blown out, plugging Larry David in between that. And then when Rondo like had sort of the same thing, sitting like away from the team, putting him in there. And so seeing Bernie Sanders sitting next to Larry David at a basketball game was my favorite one. For sure.
It's just funny. And like it's so frivolous. And like, it's nice to laugh about stupid, meaningless things.
I also, Grant, liked this one that you did of Jimmy Butler in the Santa, and it was when you just finished delivering presents all night. Like that works. That's really funny. Like it's straightforward, but it's funny.
You know what? Like that's the biggest thing. And like I'm like never one to get in strategy, but like I said earlier, like I'll do things that I think is funny and like I hope that other people like, but I'll never do something that I don't like and I don't like have faith in. And so like that meme I think was so funny because like you more than anything you want to be in the holiday spirit and you want to do something relevant. And so like what better than that moment? Because like from that moment when the picture dropped, like it was sort of similar to like the Bernie Sanders meme, except like people weren't cutting them out, but everybody had a caption for that. And so, it's another way to stay relevant. It's just a fun thing to do.
I mean, look, let's be honest, man. Santa must be exhausted when that night is over. Like that has to be just taxing.
It's got to be usage rate is through the roof.
Yes, it is. He absolutely does. He's high usage, but also high per. He's been doing this for a long time, never been spotted. So as mentioned before, we got the game for you. And in thinking about a game, I originally was going to do trivia about Goldberg, the wrestler, sharing your name, except actually, I saw a tweet of yours that made me think that you might be familiar with Goldberg. And I know Brian isn't. So this would have been a really unfair game. So therefore, I just have trivia questions about all sorts of things that either involve gold or people have gold in the name, that sort of thing. But no Goldberg, the wrestler. You'll both get to answer these questions. You'll trade off. Brian's going to take the first one, then you'll answer. Then the second one, you go first, Brian answers, and we continue. According to history.com, this is the first question. What was the value of all the gold discovered during the California gold rush? $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, or $4 billion? Brian goes first.
In today's money or their money?
They did not specify.
I'm going to say $3 billion.
Grant.
I'll say 4.
It is actually $2 billion extracted from the area during the gold rush, which peaked in 1852. According to AP,
by the way.
yes, and yeah, I feel like it's been all downhill since. According to APMEX.com, the world's largest online retailer of precious metals, what is the current price of gold per ounce? Over or under $2,000 an ounce? Grant goes first. Over under $2,000 an ounce.
I'll say under.
I think it's under.
It is under $1,871.30 as of today. This was actually updated. So that is the price of gold per ounce, 1-to-1. What year was banking giant Goldman Sachs established? 1821, 1854, 1869, or 1900? Brian goes first.
1869.
Can you repeat the first two?
1821, 1854, 1869, or 1900?
1821.
Oh, it's 1869, Grant. Founded by Marcus Goldman in 1882. He brought in his son-in-law, Samuel Sachs, as a partner. Samuel's father, Joseph Sachs, was one of Goldman's oldest friends, going back to their days in Germany.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. 2-to-1, Brian. According to the American Kennel Club, what is the origin country for golden retrievers? England, Russia, Denmark, or Scotland? Grant goes first. England, Russia, Denmark, Scotland.
I'll say Denmark.
Brian.
I was going to say Denmark too, but I'll pick something different. I will say they have a British feel to me. I'll go with England.
No, it's actually Scotland. For years, there had been stories floating around that it descended from Russian circus dogs, but this theory was debunked when the records of Lord
Andy also descended from Russian circus dogs.
Lord Tweedmouth of Inverness. Those records were released, and Lord Tweedmouth purchased a yellow retriever and bred him with the liver-colored water tweed spaniel named Belle. That's how the golden retriever was launched.
I should get half a point for being on the island, but that's okay.
No. The movie Fool's Gold reunited Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, the two stars of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Which movie was a bigger hit domestically? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or Fool's Gold? Brian goes first.
Hit is relative. I will say How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
I will also say How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
It was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. 105 domestic versus Fool's Gold.
That
70.
movie made $105 million.
Why do you think they reunited Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson? They're not going to reunite him if it was a flop.
But there's a difference between flop and $105 million for that. I did not know that. It's good for
made
them.
100. Yeah, made 105.
My apologies.
What famous film was Jeff Goldblum's big screen debut? Grant, do you know who Jeff Goldblum is?
Yes, very, very, very popular in the Goldberg household.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Which famous film was his big screen debut?
The guy from the apartments.com commercials, whoever it is.
The guy on the
show. Annie Hall, Nashville, the Robert Altman film, Death Wish, or the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. Annie Hall, Nashville, Death Wish, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Brian goes first.
I will say Death Wish.
I will say Nashville.
Oh, it's Death Wish. He played Freak number 1. Also, Train Mugger number 1 was the great veteran character actor Saul Rubinek. A lot of people actually in Death Wish. But that was his debut. 4-2, Brian.
I was once in a play in high school where I had 3 lines, 5 costume changes, and 4 roles, all of which had numbers, none of which lower than 3. So just putting that out there.
What movie did Goldie Hawn win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor? Sugarland Express, Swing Shift, Shampoo, or Cactus Flower? Sugarland Express, Swing Shift, Shampoo, Cactus Flower. Grant goes first.
Sugarland Express.
I believe it's Shampoo.
No, it's actually Cactus Flower. She played the girlfriend of Walter Matthau in a decided case of a movie character, a movie character outkicking his coverage.
Walter Matthau was probably 73 when that movie was made. Jesus, that's inappropriate. Goldie Hawn was like 12.
That was not going to happen often. The song Gold Digger by Kanye West makes prominent use of a sample of I Got a Woman by Ray Charles. True or false? Grant will go first. I Got a Woman is a cover. True or false? I Got a Woman is a cover.
I will say false.
I will say true. Every song back then was a cover.
No, it is false. Ray Charles
wrote
the song, and it was his first big hit, #1 on the R&B charts. Last question. Brian is up 4-3, but Grant, total coincidence, this last question's worth 2. So you actually have the opportunity to come back and win. Your lucky night.
On so many levels.
No surprise, but Meryl Streep holds the record for most Golden Globe nominations in film for an actor or actress. She has 29, which is staggering. Who has the second most nominations in film of an actor or an actress Golden Globe nominations? And the 4 people I'm about to name are for real the next 4 behind her. Al Pacino, Jack Nicholson, Jack Lemmon, or Shirley MacLaine. Pacino, Nicholson, Lemmon, or MacLaine. Brian goes first. Correct? Who does the
I will say Pacino. For Golden Globes, I'll say Pacino.
I will say Nicholson, just in the Lakers spirit.
The Lakers spirit has fueled you to a win, Grant. He has 17 Golden Globe nominations, which puts him the next highest behind Meryl Streep. Behind him, Jack Lemmon with 16, Pacino with 15, and Shirley MacLaine with 14. So, congratulations.
Well, it was nice to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. You can go now.
Walter Matthau.
The comeback needed to happen because I would face serious backlash if I lost in front of all my friends watching.
Well, there you have it, man. We are proud to make you a winner in front of all your fans, man. This was fun. It was great having you on. Great meeting you, actually. And we've liked your work for. We've enjoyed your work, man. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I had a blast, and it was great getting to meet you guys and talking for this last hour and change.
Cool.
Excellent. That's nice of you to say. We have some really fun shows scheduled over the next week or so. And actually, this is like the salad days of the late night happy hour. We've got some good stuff scheduled for 2 weeks, like not just next week, but the week following, which we'll tell you about soon. Tomorrow night, though, we'll get back. We'll stay, I should say, with the NBA. Andy Liu and Sam Esfandiari from, up north, all the fantastic Bay Area coverage they do there and podcasting and all that. They will be on the show. Tomorrow, Law Murray, the newest Clippers beat writer with the with the Athletic, will come on Monday. Ben Taylor, who has done a just really, really cool series on players at their peak. He's got Kobe in there. He's got Magic, Bird, all kinds of really cool players. So we'll talk to him on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, if you're a fan of the show, You're the Worst, which was one of the funniest shows on TV for a very long time. The creator, Steve Falk, and the lead, Chris Gear, will be joining us on Wednesday. So a lot of great shows coming up.
They've got a fundraiser coming up where the entire cast and like all the supporting characters, basically like everybody, is getting together to do a reading to raise money for food banks. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and we want to help them promote it and just talk some TV and stuff like that. They're funny dudes. Steve's a really good friend of ours, so that should be a lot of fun.
All right, so great shows coming up, and we will see everybody tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Thanks again to Grant Goldberg, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Dank u, Nederland.